Hello! 2.5 Linear functions of random variables. Okay. The notes for this section will be abbreviated. Like, you don't have to write down everything. They have so much redundancy in the textbooks. So here are the pieces of information you need. Really, these 4 things. So you might take some time and do that right now and pause the video and then come back and we'll go through an example. We'll do some more examples in class, but we're going to do some really quick examples right now. But go get those definitions real fast and then come back. All right, so hopefully you have those. I mean, you're not going to understand what's going on if you do not have those, so go get them. So in page 124, number 1b, if x and y are independent random variables with means 9.5, so this is the mean for x. I've just avoided having to type out these symbols. It takes forever to do. And the mean for y is 6.8 and respectively, and standard deviations 0.4 and 0.1 respectively. Find the mean and standard deviation of y minus x. So this y minus x is called a linear combination of, this is independent random variables. All right, so notice that's these 2 things, 2.49 and 2.53. All right, so what I want to do is let's look at this y minus x thing and write it as a linear combination. So y minus x is really, if we're going to write it as a linear combination, it's really -1 times x plus y, 1 times y. All right, so this is the linear combination formula they give you has like a c1 times x1 and a c2 times x2. Well, we have y instead. So c1, so all linear combination is constants times random variables. All right, so we have constants times random variables. Just one of the constants is just 1. So c1 is 1 and c2 is 1, or sorry, c1 is -1 and c2 is 1. All right, so if we wanted to find the mean of y minus x, then the mean of y minus x will be -1. So if you have, you should be looking at the formula that you wrote down for this right here from page 120. It said c1 times the mean for x. So c1 was -1. The mean for x is 9.5 plus c2 was 1 times the mean for y is 6.8. And so then if you add those together, what do you get? 2.7, -2.7. All right, so the mean for y minus x is -2.7. All right, if we wanted to find the standard deviation, we need to do the variance instead, because we don't have a formula for standard deviation. We only have a formula for variance. And it says you should square. It says, so this is, actually 2.53 is about variance of the linear combination. So you should be looking at 2.53, and it says you square the constants times the variance of x plus square the constant times the variance of y. But we don't have anything for y, it's just 1. So if you do that, you'll get 1 times the variance of x, so that would be 0.4 squared, because we've written standard deviation, plus the variance for y is 0.1 squared. And if I add those up, I'll get 0.16 plus 0.01, 0.17. So the standard deviation will be the square root of that. I didn't leave enough room. I'm really sorry. All right. But in your notes, you can use as much room as you need. All right. If we wanted to find the mean and standard deviation of 3x minus 5y, similarly, I'm not going to work it all out this way. So if I wanted the mean for 3x minus 5y, right, I'd do 3 times the mean of x plus -5 times the mean of y. If I wanted the variance of 3x minus 5y, I would do 3 squared times the variance of x, so I'd have to square those standard deviations, plus -5 squared. Notice that'll make that a positive, times the variance of y. And then the standard deviation for 3x minus 5y will be the square root of that answer. All right, so it's not too bad. It's usually, this is the hardest part, is this 2.53, remembering the squaring part. All right, so we'll talk about that more tomorrow, or in class when we meet. Okay, continuing, jointly distributed variables, section 2.6. We're only doing the discrete case, which is really nice. So, right, so we're only doing kind of half of this section, and then lots of it we're not doing at all. But once again, abbreviated notes. So here's what you need. You need some summary boxes. All right, and I'm gonna go through an example where I don't really use the definitions. I'm just going to explain something as I go. I think you're going to understand it. It's pretty, like, the example I'm going to go through is pretty intuitive, and that's how I want it to be for you. All right, so we're going to go through this example, page 154, number 1. You might go read about it so you kind of get your brain around the problem and get your notes done, and then come back and we'll look at this example together. All right, so in this example, we have some kind of, like, I don't have the example in front of me. I just have the abbreviated version, but some kind of environmental standards that are being examined. And X is the number of days where the ozone standard was exceeded, and Y was the number of days particulate matter standard was exceeded. And the joint PMF is given in this table. So notice the values of X are only 0, 1, and 2, and the values of Y are only 0, 1, and 2. And then they're related to each other. So ozone, like having ozone standard exceeded, is related to having the particulate matter standard exceeded, possibly. Okay? So here in this table, like this value of 0.05, this is the probability that X is 0, that there were 0 days that the 0 days that the ozone standard was exceeded, but 2 days where Y, the particulate matter, was exceeded. Okay, so this is P of XY of 0, 2. So all the values in this table are P of XY's. All right, and it's discrete, so those are actual probabilities. So in 1b, we say what's the probability that X is greater than or equal to 1, but Y is less than 2. So just like in the single variable case, we're just going to add. So X greater than or equal to 1, that puts us in these two rows, right? And Y less than 2 puts me in these two columns. So I want to add up these values. So it's going to be 0.17 plus 0.23 plus 0.06 plus 0.14. I think that's 4 plus, I think it's 0.6. Looks like that's 0.6. All right. And so let's keep going. What about the probability that X is less than 1? So if X, there's 6 cells where X is less than 1, so we would add all of those up. And it looks like, oh wait, no, there are not 6 cells. There's only 3 cells, right? That would be the same as the probability that X equals 0, less than 1. So I would add up 0.1 plus 0.11 and 0.05. Looks like that's 0.26. All right. So the next question says, this is number 2a, find the marginal PMF P of X. So from a joint probability distribution, we can get the marginals, just the single variable probabilities. And so we need, like, what's the probability that x equals 0? What's the probability that x equals 1? What's the probability x equals 2? I'm going to show you a really easy way to do this. I added something to my table. Since x is in the rows, I could put the marginal for x usually has a subscript of x on it. Right over here in the margin of the table. It's called a marginal probability mass function, and it's in the margin. And all you really need to do is add up things over these columns. So probability x equals 0, well, there's 3 ways it happens. We just found that less than 0. Less than 1 was really equals 0. Probability that x equals 1, there's 3 ways that happens. Let's see, 0.48. Probability x equals 2, there's 3 ways it happens. 0.26. What should those add up to? They had better add up to 1, and they do. All right, so there's the marginal for x. If I wanted the marginal for y, I could find it right down here, right? So marginal probability that y equals 0 would be here. Probability y equals 1. Probability y equals 2. So that's kind of a cool thing. Once you have the marginal, you can find all kinds of things for, for x on its own. So, like, if I wanted to find the mean of x, I could use that symbol, expected value of x, or mu subscript x. So now I could find, right, use the old formula x times probability of x to get the mean of x. So like 0 times the probability x is 0, 0.26, plus 1 times the probability x is 1, 0.48, plus 2 times the probability that x is 2, 0.26, so 0.48 plus 0.52. Oh, the average value of x is 1. Interesting. All right. You'll also see the covariance of xy is another thing you're going to have to know how to do. And the formula for covariance is the expected value of x times y minus the expected value of x, we just found that, times the expected value of y. So we know how to find both of those now. We just found the expected value of x. You could easily do the expected value of y. But I want to talk about how to find the expected value of x times y. So let's look at that. Expected value of x times y, the formula you have says something like this. Whoops, that should be a comma. So x times y times the probability, the joint probability function x comma y. All that means is take x times y and multiply by the probability of that x and y. So for example, 0 times 0, x equals 0, y equals 0, times the probability that x equals 0 and y equals 0, 0.1. Notice there's going to be lots of zeros because there are lots of zeros in this table, right? So I'm going to keep going until we get to something where we get a product that is positive. So like 1 times 1. So if x equals 1, y equals 1, then the probability that x equals 1, y equals 1 is 0.23. X equals 1, y equals 2 times, well, probability that x equals 1, y equals 2 is 0.08. And so on. So 2 times 1, x equals 1, x equals 2, y equals 1, times 0.14, plus 2, 2, and the probability of that is 0.06. So that's how I could find the expected value of x times y. All right, I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.